convince me that when it's all said and done, somehow it didn't matter whether I felt good or I felt bad. That is just complete and utter nonsense. Preposterously idiotic nonsense. You're never, ever, 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 ever going to win that argument.
Have a God who, from the moral God's perspective, things are good or evil, or a moral universe that cares about.
Again, this is just ad hominem crap. This is just straw man crap. This is just playing fucking word games. You know, there's just nothing to this whatsoever. I've given you the kernels of the value system. It has to do with this fact that sentient organisms are held in the balance. And what happens to them has substance and meaning, and you can deny it all you fucking want, and I think that is insane. I think it would make, if like I said, if most people were living for their own dogma, okay, and they thought there was no truth that obligated them, I think the world would be, 1,000 times worse than it already is.
Holocausts or suffering. You can't make some kind of mathematical equation that shows that suffering matters.
Well, you say so. You say it's not easy to add it up. I'm saying it's quite obviously easy to add it up. I can add it up. I can just count how many people are doing it. And that's math right there. It's not that complicated. You're one individual, right? Now, if you ate 5 other individuals to sustain your life, it'd be pretty easy just to do the math and say, well, that's inefficient, okay? You've consumed 4 of things that are of equal value to yourself to sustain yourself, so you're obviously not efficient.
And in fact, I mean, objectively, I think it's clear that the opposite is the case. You know, everything.
No, man, you can just say, I think it's so preposterously clear. You can say that with your little laugh, but the little laugh doesn't make it any more convincing to anybody who's going to take the argument seriously. So you're just trying to be pious. You're just trying to say, I have an authority and I can laugh at that silly proposition that suffering matters. Ha 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 ha. But that's just, the only people that are going to be buying that crap, right, are people who want to be selfish fucks. Who want to assume that everybody else's suffering doesn't matter except for their own. That's all this philosophy is. You're just trying. This is just a philosophy for assholes who want to be selfish motherfucking pieces of shit and find an excuse to do it.
Everything else about Inmendham's philosophy proves that suffering doesn't matter ultimately. You know, that it is just this completely amoral process unfolding, and it.
Well, again, it's not about blaming the universe. It's just about defining or saying, well, the universe has rabies. Okay, we don't have to blame the universe for the rabies. We just have to concede the universe has rabies. You just concede the universe doesn't have a brain and it's dumb. Okay, it's not about, you keep turning this into some sort of thing where, like, I'm sitting around just saying, let's blame stuff. No, let's assess stuff. Now, that can sound like blame when you sit there and give the thing its assessment and say you failed the class, you failed the course. It sounds like blame, but it's just an assessment. I'm not doing it just for the hell of it. I mean, God, it's just so fucking stupid.
This accident that life has occurred, and, you know, out of that a bunch of suffering and a bunch of pleasure and a bunch of other experiences are happening, but ultimately.
Yeah, well, again, even the way you would put the phrase it, oh, a bunch of suffering, a bunch of pleasure, you've just discounted it, attempted to anyway, like it's all balances out. You're just going for this neutral crap. You're just saying the universe is universing and it knows what it's doing, and that's all you're saying. And we can't pass judgment and say there's better performance and lesser performance. Yes, of course there is. There's lesser performance. We can make the universe perform better if we allow the memes to roll through us. Okay, but if we have obnoxious fucktard philosophy in our head that says we're more important than the other guy, that somehow our suffering matters but theirs doesn't because the universe is going to blow up someday, if we have nonsense rolling around inside of our brain, then yeah, we're not going to say the right words, we're not going to enforce the right memes, and then the performance will not improve. because you won't read the right script. You're gonna read a moron script. You're gonna read an idiot script. You're gonna read a fucktard script, and because you're gonna read the wrong fucking script. I mean, it's the only script you got. Yeah, that's the truth. But the fact of the matter is, it makes you shit. Okay, it doesn't change the fact that you're fucking shit. Okay, you got a shitty script, fella, and I feel bad for you. And I'm trying to improve your script. I'm trying to give you a chance to improve your script. You know, that your script can change through my influence. That I can bump into you and fix your fucking script, because your script sucks. You gotta read a better script, asshole.
None of that matters. Ultimately. Of course it matters to me. It matters to inmendham. But
yeah, that's just bullshit. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me because it's my dogma. It matters to me because I believe it to be the truth. Alright? And I don't do what I want to do. I do what I feel obliged to do, like a lot of the time. So this is just a bullshit argument that we can somehow live out our selfish motivations and somehow be productive. I don't buy that for a fucking minute. So I think that's all a pile of shit. I'm not doing this because I personally give a fuck. I'm doing this because I sense the obligation. It comes down on me through my filters, through my eddy of logic, and said, yeah, that's right. There's all these sentient beings, and if you don't fix this sentient machine, you essentially are going to be reliving in the broken world you're going to leave behind. You can't win this debt game. It's like when people borrowed money, the federal government borrowed money, and people keep thinking, well, I'm not going to have to pay it back, so that's cool. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. If your kids are paying it back, you've just fucked them. You've just fucked something just as good as yourself, who's going to be fucked with the system you left them.
That is not, it only matters to me because I have been determined to care about that, not because I'm somehow...
Yeah, but let's understand how you got determined, okay? You got determined through an evolution that took place in human consciousness. If you were born 1,000 years ago, you likely wouldn't be able to see what you can see today, okay? Because you wouldn't have been determined as such. Alright, so we have the advantage of seeing stupid human tricks. We have the advantage of 12 years of pretty good education, even though I think the system sucks. We have huge advantages that the humans of 1,000 years ago didn't have. So yes, we determine differently. We are a different beast. So you're implying, okay, that there's no improvement. There is improvement. And part of the improvement is recognizing what's valuable. And that's what we've started to do. That's why we abolished slavery, asshole. We didn't abolish slavery because, all the humans thought it was in their personal interest. No, they abolished slavery because they recognized it was wrong. Okay, it was unproductive. It was inefficient. It was nasty. It was unfair. It was a lot of performance words in the negative, and they recognized it because they had the capacity of logic that was based on an idea that the welfare of a sentient creature was important, whether you said so or not.
Enlightened, and I understand somehow that it matters. That's where inmendham jumps off the deterministic train and makes these contradictory statements. Is ultimately you can't escape determinism to make choices, to make moral judgments, to make decisions.
Yeah, that's not really what I'm saying, though. But there will be decisions that'll take place inside of your head. And what I'm saying is you have to read the script. So if a person doesn't get the script that says suffering matters, if they can't read those words, my argument is they're broken now. Now they're fucked. Okay, so they've got to read that part of the script. And if they're not going to read that part of the script, if that script doesn't get injected into them, okay, it's game over. All right, and that's what I mean by choices. I mean, obviously they're not going to choose, but their brain is going to make a choice. All right, there'll be a decision thing made, through the process. And I'm just saying one of the ingredients that has to be in the fight before that decision gets made is they have to have that acknowledgement. If they don't have that acknowledgement, the wrong decision is going to be made.
All of that is still determinism, as he explained in the beginning of his video. So, anyway, if I sound confused, it's because I am confused. This, I think inmendham needs to clarify what he means by things being good or evil. It's one thing to be able to...
Well, I don't use the word evil very often, so, that's just kind of a cheap way to maneuver your question, all right? It makes it seem kind of insincere, okay? I mean, I really have made it awful clear. I use the word productivity all the time. I mean, these are words that are in my jargon, so I'm really talking about performance. That's the judgment, all right? So... And performance based on a pretty simple standard, which is how much suffering did you produce versus how much suffering did you prevent. I mean, these are not complex ideas. Suffering is the core value. It is the ingredient that makes all meaning in the universe. Without it, there is nothing that matters. I just don't know how to, I mean, maybe there's a way to make it clearer, but I just don't know what it would be.
Discern one phenomenon from another, objectively, and say these two things exist separately, and they have these different characteristics. It's a completely different thing to say that one of them is desirable and one of them isn't, objectively. The only way...
Yeah, no, there's no distinction. Again, like I said, when you take the word desirable and put it in the context, where desirable is defined by a recognition that suffering has a negative quanta, okay, and pleasure, relief from deprivation, has a positive quanta. All right, so once you establish that as the premise for this word desirable, and desirable will be decided by more positive than less negative, there's nothing that prevents this from being an objective science, not a subjective how do I feel about it bullshit.
To do that is by imposing a sort of a utilitarian ethic where you say it's good, this is good and this is bad because this is the goal we're trying to get to. Things cannot be inherently good or bad according to a process of entropy.
Well, of course they can. Again, like I said, a dog can have rabies. You can acknowledge it has rabies. It's now a broken dog. It's not functional. It's not going to live up to any kind of expectation of functionality. It's going to now cause more harm than it's going to cause any kind of good. That's not a hard equation. The math is really fucking simple. You don't sit there and, let your kid pet the rabid dog. I mean, damn it. This is not that complicated.
Anyway, cheers.
And whatever on that cheers crap. Anyway, I'm an American, goddammit. So, get with the program, dude. Anyway, that's enough of a video, I believe. So, now it's the trick of turning the cameras off. I guess we'll kill this one first. Maybe we'll use this one for sound. I don't know. I'll have to see which one sounds better. I'm a little skeptical myself. So, we'll see. So, maybe